Not at all.
All right. This hearing on the FY12 budget of the Department of Human Services is now reconvened after a very brief recess. We now have the testimony of the acting director, but who is designated to be the permanent director and who has been nominated as such, David A. Burns. This is your first appearance, I suspect, before the council, certainly before this committee. And so we welcome you, and we look forward to having your testimony. Thank you.
Good evening, Chairman Graham, members of the Committee on Human Services.
It's best that you put your papers to one side and pull the microphone up so that we hear every word.
Okay, very good. I'm pleased to appear before you tonight to discuss the Mayor's 2012 budget proposal. My testimony will try to hit the high points and the issues. You have a fuller written testimony plus a number of documents that we've already submitted. Our budget does continue our transformation from a program-centered budget into one where customers assume a greater role in their own plans and self-sufficiency, and that's one of the main reasons why I was called in here. And so we want to continue that transformation process. The budget's comprised of general funds, of course, federal grants, payments, a total of nearly $320 million, which is about a 1% increase over last year's budget, and it calls for staffing at 842 staff, which is a 1.9% decrease in the number of staff for our agency. Our budget is based on the Mayor's priorities that you know and have heard, I'm sure, many times as 4 priorities, but we're trying to move more families into self-sufficiency by addressing their unique needs. We're moving additional residents into permanent housing. We're concentrating on services integration and cross-systems work because we do not operate the Department of Human Services in isolation. Creatively using our programs to prevent the need for other services, especially preventing the need for child welfare and the involvement of our clients in the criminal and juvenile justice systems, and reinvesting our limited resources into better outcomes, because we know that the good outcomes are a lot cheaper in the long run than the bad outcomes that so often we've seen in the past. Just to get to some of the big issues that we've heard so much about today, we are trying to preserve as much of the homeless continuum as possible. For 2011, our current fiscal year was funded with local appropriation dollars, a lot of one-time federal funding, especially for permanent supportive housing, and one-time federal TANF emergency contingency funds. Many of those funds are no longer available, and to make up for that loss, the Mayor has recommended an increase of $14 million in local funds. We'll also spend about $2 million less in permanent supportive housing case management. This is a program efficiency rather than a cut. And we're expecting to move about $4 million of our rental subsidy cost into permanent supportive housing programs from local DHS funds to either federal housing choice vouchers or local rental supplement programs. That way we avoid using local dollars and transfer some of those costs to the federal government. Now, it's been widely publicized that the Department of Human Services will lose approximately $26.7 million in this one-time federal funding. With the additional funds that we've received in the Mayor's proposed budgets, we still face a shortfall that we've projected, and in many of the original papers we submitted was $20.5 million, and that's what you've been hearing all day, is a $20 million shortfall. We think, especially with the reduction in program efficiencies, we can comfortably say that that shortfall is $18.5 million. So we've been looking at ways to modify or reduce that hit, but it's still $18.5 million is what we feel is the shortfall in the housing programs. We don't know exactly where those shortfalls would hit. We want to really bring a lot more of our stakeholders into the process. Today we heard so much and got some additional guidance. But even though we don't know exactly where those shortfalls would come, we do know that there are certain programs that are either mandatory or even based on today's testimony and other input, we feel have the highest priority. Certainly the high priority of the hypothermia shelter for all of our citizens is the very important part of what we're trying to maintain. We're also trying to prioritize housing for homeless families, including temporary and domestic violence shelters, site-based transitional housing, and the operation of the Virginia Williams Family Resource Center. Housing programs where, and finally, housing programs where clients receive rental subsidies, such as in the permanent supportive housing programs. Now, if those were the programs that we all finally agree on are the priorities, that means that the biggest cuts will come in the shelters that operate during the non-hypothermia season, especially for single adults. So that's with that type of prioritization, we would expect that the total funding available under the proposed budget is $58.8 million. The total funding, the total funding to meet the priorities that I just described is $58.8 million. The total funding in the budget is only $59.4, only $600,000 left for the rest of the continuum. So if we were to, again, fully fund the priority areas, the kinds of cuts that we would be seeing would be the DC general family shelter capacity could, outside of hypothermia season, would be cut about $7.1 million. The operation of the shelter for single homeless adults outside of the hypothermia season, approximately $10.3 million. Transportation services outside of the hypothermia season, $1.1 million. Outreach outside of hypothermia, approximately $200,000. In ancillary services such as feeding programs, medical clinics, etc., for about $400,000. And Chairman Graham, you asked for is clear of an identification of where the cuts would have to come. And again, these aren't cut or set in steel, but these, if we funded the highest priority programs, these are what would be left for cutting. So to go on, we have one of the reasons why we want to continue this permanent supportive housing programs that you've heard about so much today is that it's been shown to be highly effective. A lot of shelter programs are absolutely crucial, but they rarely or often do not result in our clients being able to move forward. With the permanent supportive housing, there's a much greater likelihood that they'll actually be able to deal with issues of employment, of medical care, mental health services and all. It's awfully hard to deal with those in a shelter base, and the permanent supportive housing is just vitally important for the clients and for them to be able to succeed in all of those domains of their life. Would like to say that as I know we're under a time frames, the Interim Disability Assistance Program was also mentioned as an item of great concern. Again, this program has been suspended for new enrollees, and the payments to the current recipients is proposed to end on September 30th. We expect approximately 1,040 recipients to be remaining in that program as of September 30th. So that's how many people would have their checks cease at that time. We will, if that happens, and when that happens, continue to work with those individuals to try to get them onto the SSI and to provide whatever supportive and community services that we can refer them to. But it would be that hit of $270, I believe it is, a month for those remaining recipients. We also are looking at our POWER program recipients. It's shown that many POWER program recipients are or should be eligible for SSI. One of the enhancements in our program is to add 9 FTEs that would allow us to work much more effectively with the recipients on that program to get them into the federal SSI program. These are families. This is not the single recipients that are in the interim disability program, but for the ones that where the parent usually is eligible or should be eligible for SSI. We think that we can save district dollars and by having a much more focused and intensive effort in moving them onto the federal program. Again, they get more money under that program, and they also it saves the district money by transferring the expense to the federal government. We do want to preserve as another priority, and I know I'm moving fast, but preserve the core functions of the social network for all TANF programs. You do know, and you've heard a lot of testimony about the fact that we did roll back a 20% decrease in the benefits for the recipients that have been on assistance for over 5 years, and another 25% reduction as of October 1st in those benefits. This does provide a savings of $3 million $4.9 million in savings. Again, if those were restored, that money would have to come from someplace, and the mayor and all of you, I know, are faced with very, very tough choices. These are not programs that any of us feel are bad programs. It's just that if not this, what? And so the recommendation is that we move forward with that. And I would say that it's my intent, and as I've been here 9 days, I've looked and seen some opportunities for us to change our focus in the way that we serve not only those recipients, but all recipients in the TANF program. I believe that we've had too much focus in the past, and this is based on extensive experience that I've had in TANF programs in several states. Too much emphasis on trying to meet federal work requirements and jam people into programs and services that they don't necessarily benefit from. And it's my philosophy, and I believe one that really has shown to be very effective, is to have the clients design their own work plans, their own services plans, and if a family's involved with the child welfare program, that their child welfare plan should be their work plan, because they'll never be able to be successful for work until they can address their other family issues. Now, part of the child welfare plan should be to help them get employment if that's what they're intending to do. So what we're working on is unified case plans, opportunities for our clients to take the lead in designing what they need to be involved in, opportunities for clients to say, yes, maybe I can get a job for 5 or 10 hours a week, but I want to spend the rest of my time in working on getting school. And we find that people that do it simultaneously end up with much more chance of being employed than those who do it sequentially. So one philosophy with TANF was get a job and then you can go back to school. Another philosophy was go to school and then maybe you can get a job. But really the research shows that those that can do both of them, a small part-time job, especially if they're on TANF, they end up with the income disregards with more money, more resources, and work experience at the time that they complete educational or training programs. So I want to be moving more forward with those kinds of approaches. Part of our program redesign in the TANF program is in enhanced customer assessments, a TANF universal delivery model, meaning that we'll be using a lot of different aspects of the community programs to support our customers, removal of barriers, skill development, client choice, client leadership, and full community development of all of the resources. We think that we can move forward with many, many initiatives simultaneously, and that although not all of these are currently in place now, where we have contracts pending and opportunities to be able to develop in the next few months that will greatly improve the chance of our consumers being able to be self-sufficient and to move forward in the way that they really are driving and want to move forward. There is a tightening of certain eligibility screening that is put into our budget. It isn't a savings in our budget, but rather than in the Medicaid budget of $11.7 million that we get. We're asking for 15 FTEs, and the mayor has recommended 15 additional FTEs to help us with these improved eligibility screenings and make sure that everybody that is drawing benefits, and especially benefits that are often 100% local money, are actually recipients and living in the district. With that, I'll just conclude saying that we think we know that the budget requires a great amount of thought, that there's things that are cut that none of us would really want to cut in better economic times. We've tried to set priorities. The mayor's tried to set priorities. And we will use the many resources that you've already given to us in the most effective manner that we can, and continue to work with our customers and the community to improve our system and deliver the best possible supports for our most vulnerable population. So thank you.